Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. The record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
The record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orit Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record, whether you're here in the Cayman Islands or if you're listening overseas via the web. Today is Friday, the 1st of May, 2015. The year is just buzzing along, so I hope you've already done your Christmas shopping because Christmas will soon be here. So whether you're listening in the Cayman Islands or you're following us overseas via the web, I want to welcome you to For the Record, where I am your host, Orit Connor. I want to remind you that For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is designed specifically to keep you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. This is an interactive talk show. This is your show. We always tell you, your radio station. We have a toll-free number provided courtesy of Lime. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990 with your questions, to express your concerns, or just to bring something to our attention as well. And of course, there are some people who don't like to talk on the telephone. So if you don't like to talk on the telephone, then you can email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record, at candw.ky. Before I introduce my guest this morning, I have a few issues that I want to lay on the table for our listening audience. First, I want to talk about, first, I promised last week that I received an email from the Commissioner of Police, Mr. David Baines, and when we see some of the headlines in the newspapers this morning, we see that overall crime is down, speeding tickets are up, and then I think on another site we saw where the number of robberies for this first part of the year has increased so far. But Commissioner Baines has written and said, "Good morning, Orit. On Monday's show, you were commenting upon the tragic death of a pedestrian involved in a motor vehicle accident on South Sound. You made a comment to the effect that there is virtually no traffic enforcement by the police in the Cayman Islands. That comment is incorrect. In the past month, from the 30th of March to the 26th of April, the RCIPS has initiated 337 traffic enforcement issues. That includes 14 arrests for DUI, 55 for using their phones while driving, and 49 tickets for speeding. The remainder being a myriad of failings under the traffic law. That was a normal month. The figures are prosecutions and do not include traffic stops where advice was given. You will appreciate why I would ask that you correct the misrepresentation that no traffic enforcement takes place on these islands." And if I said no traffic enforcement, that would have been a misstatement on my part. What my intentions and what I meant was that we needed to have more traffic enforcement than we have. People still believe that the traffic department basically has been eliminated within the police department. If that does not seem to be the case, but the general public feel that more focus needs to be made in terms of traffic surveillance and traffic enforcement. But we certainly accept the commissioner's explanation. And if you want to see more in relation to the traffic figures, then you certainly can refer to your local media. Now, I also want to talk briefly about the meetings of the Electoral Boundary Commission that have taken place so far. Those meetings took place in the Sister Islands, Cayman Brac and Little Cayman individually, in East End, West Bay, Georgetown, Bordentown, and last night in Savannah. What I want to talk about, first I want to commend the commissioners for accepting such a challenging task that they have been given. Two commissioners were nominated, one by the Premier, one by the Leader of the Opposition, and of course the chair was chosen by the Governor. Those commissioners could have chosen to not accept the appointments, the nominations or the appointments, but they did. And I'm sure that they did so out of a sense of social consciousness, a sense of responsibility to their communities and to their islands. So I want to commend them, for that. The attendance at the meetings, we want to talk about that. I just want to mention that briefly. We saw in some districts attendance was very sparse. In others, the attendance was pretty good. We also look at the quality of discussions. Some persons were distracted and talking about issues that were beyond the commissioner's purview, beyond their scope, and as a result lost a golden opportunity to discuss the whole issue of where boundaries should be located. The commissioners have explained their mandate, that their mandate comes basically from the Constitution. In some instances, they were put on the spot in relation to what their views were. I want to talk particularly about two meetings. The meeting in West Bay, I wasn't personally at that meeting, listened to it on the the live broadcast on Radio Cayman, and got the impression that some portions of that meeting were extremely intimidating to the commissioners. I listened again last night to the meeting in Northside, and I got the distinct impression that, again, there was some hostility. There was a sense of hostility there towards the commissioners. That is not what we need. We can get our points across without being confrontational. I noticed last night in the Northside meeting that Mr. McPhail was extremely quiet at a certain point. And I took the opportunity to call him afterwards. And, he basically just sat back and reserved himself, because we know Mr. McPhail can be contentious, when he wants to be as well. And he can confront those persons who are being contentious. But I think, I'm sure that Mr. McPhail put aside his personal feelings and decided he has to act as a commissioner, as the people expect him to act. I just want to remind people that badgering and perceived bullying is something that is no longer acceptable. And those of you who want to be and have aspirations to be politicians or political leaders, those two facets, bullying and intimidation, are not characteristics that the voting public of the Cayman Islands are looking for. So you're not doing any good to yourself, when you do that. And my last point in relation to that is that the commissioners have repeatedly said that they have a constitutional responsibility. They're bound constitutionally to consult with the people before they submit their report. You can't go to a meeting and expect them to tell you what they have already decided. They have repeatedly said, we need to talk to you, we have to hear from you first. But for some reason, people are tone deaf and are unable to understand that. Now, I know the commissioners are planning on having another series of meetings, and I am just asking people, behave properly. Yes, in the Bordentown meeting, I got up and I had my little say as well. And I went off on a tangent a little bit, and I said, any administration who fails to put into effect the one man, the concept, the principle of one man, one vote, and single member constituencies will be dealt with at the polls, that they will suffer the consequences as a result of not implementing it. Yeah, that was my little jab there, but I say that and I moved on. The Bordentown meeting, comments that we heard in relation to that was that was one of the first meetings where the commissioners were really able to discuss the issue of boundaries as opposed to other issues that they have no control of. So again, people, when you go out to those meetings, comport yourself properly, because it's carried live on Radio Cayman. Despite the fact that at the last part of the broadcast last night, the volume went down somewhat. I don't think that was deliberate, but it certainly was probably a good point for it to go down, because some people were really, really getting off the track at points in time. I know I'll get a lot of heat for saying this, but I wanted to say it publicly, and I have broad shoulders, so I'm able to do that. But unfortunately, this morning, we won't be taking calls about the Electoral Boundaries Commission and the meetings there, because we're going to be discussing something that is even more important to us here in the Cayman Islands. We're going to be discussing our future, the Cayman Islands' future, and that what is the future of the Cayman Islands? The future of Cayman Islands in our youth, in our children. And so we're here this morning. We will be discussing that. I have in the studio with me this morning Ms. Jen Dixon, who is the Director of Children and Family Services. Ms. Jen, good morning and welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor.
And I also have with me Ms. Debbie Sibley's, Web Sibley's, and she is the Deputy Director of Children and Family Service, and she's also the Strategic and Programs Manager as well. And we also have, and Ms. Debbie, good morning and welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, and thank you.
We also have Ms. Delmira Borden with us. She is the Clinical Development Officer in the Department of Children and Family Services. She's also the chairperson for this year's Committee on Child Month. Ms. Delmira, good morning and welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Corner. I am the Community Development Officer and the Chairperson for Child Month Committee. Thank you.
Okay, Community Development Officer. I stand corrected. And folks, this morning, I want you to bear with my guest in the studio. We also expect to have Minister Osborne Borden here with us as well. He's probably caught out in traffic at this point in time. But at least two of the ladies here are suffering from allergies as well as, a little of the cold. So if you hear them coughing on mic, please excuse them, because they have gone to extreme lengths to be here this morning. They could have chosen to stay in bed and take a sick day off, as well. But they're here with us to discuss Child Month. So we're going to be going to a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to get straight into the discussions. I just want to say one more thing to you. We talked about Minister Borden is probably on his way and probably caught in traffic. I just want to remind people that this morning we had a light shower sometime last night. The road surfaces are wet this morning. Remember, we have not had rain for quite a while. It means that the oil builds up on the road. You don't see it because it's dry, but as soon as it starts to rain, those first few showers, and especially if it doesn't come down heavy, the roads become extremely slick and treacherous and dangerous. Be careful how you drive, especially at the roundabouts. I want to remind you, you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Orrit Connor. Please stay tuned. As soon as we come back from the commercial break, we're going to go straight into our discussions about Child Month. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record, where I'm your host, Dorit Connor. I want to remind you that our guest in the studio with us this morning, we have representatives from the Department of Children and Family Services. We have Mrs. Alicia Jen Dixon, who's the director. We have Ms. Debbie Webb Sibley, who's the deputy director. And we also have Ms. Delmira Borden, who is the community officer. Community coordinator, community officer. She's also the chairperson of the Child Month Committee, and we're here discussing Child Month. And first, I want to say that we in the Cayman Islands, many people have big hearts, huge hearts, and the committee this year is taking advantage of those big hearts by using as their theme opening our hearts to feed our children in need, children literacy, spiritual development, family fun activities, foster care, creating positive memories, child protection, spending quality time with our children. Big hearts, lots of things to do with those big hearts. Open them up. Ms. Jen, I'm going to start off with you.
Good morning. All right. Wonderful being here with you. Child Month is something the Department of Children and Family Services has been celebrating for 19 years now. This is our 19th year. We started in May of 1997. We had a foster care adoption coordinator at the time by the name of Maureen Gay, and she brought it to the then director, Mrs. Diana Lookloy's attention that the United Nations had been declaring May the month of the child for a number of years. So we decided to start commemorating that here in May of 1997. Prior to that, during Mrs. Joyce Hilton's days back in the 70s, we had actually celebrated a day of the child, but this has evolved into an entire month of activities. The goal of us doing Child Month has always been about highlighting the achievements and accomplishments of our children, encouraging families to get together around healthy activities for children, spending quality time with their families, celebrating our children through encouraging them participating in fun activities. So as we go through our calendar, you'll see there's some activities, whether it is the family board games night, other activities that's free to families to attend, and it's about spending quality time with children. We celebrate our children all through the year, but we make a specific emphasis during May. Coincidentally, we have Mother's Day during May, so it all falls really well together. And the activities that are planned for the month are done through a committee which includes other government agencies as well as people from the wider community.
Okay. Well, Minister Borden has joined us in the studio, and you would have heard this morning on Radio Cayman as well Minister Borden's comments in introducing Child Month, and his comments there as well. Minister Borden, good morning. Welcome to For the Record again.
Good morning, OC, and good morning to the listening audience.
Okay.
Pleasure to be here as usual. And came here primarily to not have as much to say as these ladies because they're the ones behind this, but to show my support as minister and as a new minister for this area. I just want to start off by, first of all, commending the organizers, Department of Children and Family Services, Ms. Jen, Deputy Director Debbie, and of course, Community Development Officer, and the chairperson for this year, Ms. Delmira. And I don't think there can be anything more important. We often speak negatively in this country. We wake up often to a lot of negative talk shows, but I think this one, hopefully this morning, will shed a lot of positives and a lot of the good work that is not just done during Child Month, but done through the year by Department of Children and Family Services and many others in relation to our young people and our children. And there can be no better way to focus our energies, and I think it's wise to have a month where the spotlight is on it, because this is where the future, as you said, I was listening coming down, this is the future of our islands. There's no greater investment than our children, and I think we all feel once we've raised them to that point. I often refer to them as a mortgage. They're at least 20 years. And, and I think once they've reached that point, I have two that have reached that and one fast approaching. So I think I've contributed well in that regard. But, young people and children deserve every bit of our attention. And there's no greater gift to them than our time and the investment that we put in them in that regard. Because all of us know we'll go out there at Christmas time on whatever special occasion and we'll buy the fanciest gifts, the fanciest toys. And, in tutus, they're down somewhere, one side. But what that child wants is you just to hang with them, to go and just go to a ball game, to go and play a little football with them, go running with them, walking with them, talking with them. That time at the family table, at the family living room, those are the times that when people pass on, and their kids refer to them, they don't talk about what they gave them. They talk about the times that they cherished, the time they went fishing, the time their daddy turned up the boat, whatever. That's what kids remember. That's what and that's what shaped children's lives. So I think we as a community need to get away from some of the material things. And I often tell people, remember Ivan, we did with so little. Yep. And at that time we came together as a nation, and this is a good example of where we need to come together.
Certainly. And certainly with development, we end up with prosperity, with affluence, but at the same time we find that at one end of the spectrum, people, those on the top end are doing much better, and those at the lower end are doing, not as well or sometimes worse. And I know that you have partnered with several organizations in the Cayman Islands, including Feed Our Future Cayman. Feed Our Future Cayman, that is one that I'm familiar with because just recently the Cayman Islands Cycling Association partnered with them with a Century Ride to raise funds for them. And we have organizations like those that are doing a fantastic job in helping the most vulnerable in our society.
When Stacy and her team started Feed Our Future, we were very much involved with them and supported them because government can't do it all, and they were out there wanting to do something, and they've been doing a fantastic job. With the separation of the welfare arm from the social work arm of the department, they work more closely with the needs assessment unit than children and family services per se. But if we come across children in our work that is in need of that service, we will still make referrals through to them. So any support Feed Our Future can get from the community, we wholeheartedly support that because they really are helping a significant amount of children.
Mr. Almira, as a community officer, can you share with us some of the issues, not directly, but some of the issues that you have that you see out there in relation to children and their vulnerabilities?
As a community development officer, we see several issues as highlighted in our Child Month calendar this year, and it's a part of our team opening our hearts. And opening our hearts is to unify not only our hearts but our hands, and to act and to be a part of a child's life in a positive way. Feed our children in need. There are children in the Cayman Islands that do not have food to eat. They do not have lunch monies, and that is a serious problem. I believe that in order for every child to succeed, they must have the essential materials, they must have the essential services, they must have the essential support from their parents and also all organizations within the community. Spiritual development is another thing that we want to focus on because growing up in the Cayman Islands, for me personally, church was a very important part of my life, and I had to go to church every Sunday. And believe it or not, going to church and participating in church makes a difference in a child's life on a daily basis. And it also ensures that, for the most part, I find that children, for the most part, behave correctly, besides the disciplines that are implemented at home or instilled at home. We have a better society if we put God first, because I believe God is the pillar of any society, church on a whole. Foster care, there are children in the Cayman Islands who need foster care, and we are seeking persons to step up and offer themselves as a foster parent. And with a foster parent becoming available, at some point in time, we look at it not as a permanent thing. Sometimes it has to be permanent, but some children just need a temporary break in order for us to work with the families, to work with the parents, and they go back home to their families. And sometimes it becomes a permanent thing, but every child deserves a beautiful childhood, deserves good experiences as a child growing up. Once again, affording them all of the good things and services and support and love and nurturing during that time in order for them to become well-rounded citizens and well-rounded adults in society and functioning today. Child protection is a wide issue. Child abduction is one of our main topics that Ms. Suzanne Lookloy-Bothwell will be speaking on. And child abduction is very prevalent in the Cayman Islands, and it's something that we have to discuss. It comes in a form in different manners. It presents itself in different situations, in different cases. We want to encourage spending quality time with our children and also creating positive memories, and children literacy is important. Reading to your children before going to bed is a part of their development. Children literacy is so important. It's called reading for life. Learning to read, knowing to read is a very essential part of everybody's life, and it's important for us to promote it.
Folks, I want to remind you that you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Art Connor, and in the studio with me this morning discussing Child Month, which starts today. We have Minister Osborne Bawden. We have the Director of Children and Family Services, Miss Alicia Dixon. We have Miss Debbie Webb-Sibley's and Miss Delmira Bawden with us. We're going to go to the news at this point in time. When we come back, we will be discussing more about Child Month. You will be hearing from Miss Webb-Sibley's as well in relation to her role as a clinical development officer. Please stay tuned. There's lots to talk about, so don't change that dial. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record, where I'm your host, Art Connor, and my guest in the studio with me this morning, we have the Honorable Osborne Bawden, who is the Minister responsible for Community Affairs, Youth and Sports. We also have Miss Alicia Jen Dixon, who is the Director of Children and Family Services. We have Miss Debbie Webb-Sibley's, who is the Deputy Director of Children and Family Services, and we have Ms. Delmira Bawden, who is the Clinical Development Officer, Community Officer in the department, as well as the chairperson for this, the committee for this year's Child Month. And we are discussing Child Month activities here in the Cayman Islands. I just want to point out that there are events scheduled not only in Grand Cayman but also in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, and they're also asking that when persons who, when you're considering sending your child, don't send your child or your children to these events. They want you to accompany your children to these events as well. Be a part of it. Don't just drop them off and leave them and, interact with them. Be there with them. Ms. Debbie, you want to add some more to that?
Yes. And getting back to our theme, opening our hearts to our children. Ms. Delmira spoke of some of the challenges that our children are facing in our communities. She mentioned about spiritual development, and we are aware in the communities that the churches are a bit concerned that children are not participating in church activities the way they used to. And parents need to take some responsibility for that, in the sense that they need to encourage children to acknowledge that for every human being there is a spiritual side for all of us. And in understanding that our spirituality, it helps us to look at developing a very well-rounded personality and outlook on life. So I just want to put that extra emphasis on parents taking that responsibility and encouraging their children to participate in church-based youth activities.
Because we always hear that some people complain and say there's not enough for children to do in the Cayman Islands. And when you look at the churches, they have lots of activities. But maybe sometimes when they're saying there's not enough to do, they're excluding the spiritual part of things.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things, just to pick up on what Debbie was saying, is for us to work with our families so that they understand that spiritual component, the importance of it. And children learn by example. So as the adults in their lives, we have to set the example by going to church, taking them with us from they're very young. And that way they grow up in church and church activities. Churches also have to look at the types of activities they are having and make sure that it's geared towards the young people as well.
One of the other things that we need to focus on, or we will be focusing on during this month, is education sessions on the radio education sessions, where we will be discussing various topics. As Ms. Delmira mentioned earlier about the child abduction. And I just need to explain some of the circumstances or situations where we would be concerned for child abduction in Cayman. It is where one parent who may have custodial rights to the child actually leaves the country without the other parent being notified or even having their permission. And that is something that is increasing in our society with the rates of divorce being so high. There are many different ways that we can look at opening our hearts to our children. We were talking earlier about creating memories and being role models for our children. As parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, we need to accept the adult responsibility that whatever behavior, whatever attitudes that we demonstrate in our interactions with others, especially children, that the children will learn those behaviors so that when they become adults, they will say, well, I saw you doing it, so you did it to me, so therefore it must be okay for me to treat others the way you treated me. And we need to be very mindful of the message or messages that we are sending our children, that they're not mixed messages, that they're strong, firm, and consistent, positive messages for our children to learn from.
Now, in that area, when we look at the recent disturbances in Maryland, in Baltimore, and the video that went viral in terms of the woman chastising her son and actually beating him. Now, she's gotten kudos from many, and I believe she's gotten those from those who come from the old-time school in terms of how you handle children in that regard. But yet some of the experts say, that the way that she went about it sent the wrong message, because she was using violence, the same violence that she was trying to ensure that her son didn't participate in. So we have that dichotomy. We have that two points of views. One is the strong-handedness, and the other one is using the persuasive method as well.
Well, that leads us right into talking about child protection.
Okay.
The Children's Law 2012 revision speaks about mandatory reporting of child abuse. It also speaks of the responsibility of the Department of Children and Family Services to respond to referrals within 24 hours to ensure that children are not placed in environments where they will continue to be placed at further risk or harm. So therefore, we have to intervene. I know in the past, when we started our child abuse campaign back in 1994, when we were looking at developing standards and policies to look at how to deal with referrals, and how to deal with investigations from a multidisciplinary position, that a lot of persons were saying that we were intervening in how parents were treating their children. But we are not saying that parents cannot discipline their children. It is how it's done. What we are speaking about is that there are parents who are going overboard and physically, emotionally, and even sexually destroying their children's future by abusing them in ways that is inhumane. So when we talk about child protection and we have a right to intervene, it is in those situations where children are really being abused.
Now, Minister Borden, I think we have the under 15 tournament. Is that coming up soon as well? Does that coincide in a way with the month of May and Child Month as well?
Well, it's because the Cayman Invitational on the 15th soccer tournament is next week.
Next week, okay.
So that's a nice fit. I don't think it was designed necessarily that way, but it fits nicely. Yeah.
And would it be too late to some of your activities that you have to change them in such a way that, again, we reach out and grab some of those youth who are going to be involved in football and get them involved in other activities as well for the month? Ms. Delmira?
Yeah, we have a full calendar of activities for the month, and our activities are geared at unifying parents and their children and executing our theme, opening our hearts. Again, it's feed our children in need, children literacy, spiritual development, family fun activities, and today is Celebrity Reading Day. Her Excellency the Governor, Ms. Helen Kilpatrick, will be reading along with our Minister, the Honorable Minister, Mr. Osborne Borden. He's also reading. Ms. Jen is our director, is also reading. We have many celebrities today that will be in preschools throughout the Cayman Islands, interacting with children and embracing them and showing them love and passing on that children literacy as far as reading to our children at bedtime, instilling that while we unify the voices in the Cayman Islands and bring our children to the forefront, who is the most important asset to our country and to the families of the Cayman Islands. You must think of passing on. You must think of passing on the torch. And to pass on the torch, our children must be well equipped, they must be prepared, and they must be ready. For families, your children are very important to you. There's a saying that I want to go into that say once a man and twice a child. The reality of it is what you do today will manifest tomorrow. You too will need that child when you become going through the developmental stage of aging. So when we look at all the activities, if you're a teenager, whatever age group, come out with your children. When you, on Saturday the 2nd of May, the Badabanu is where we are going to do the Teenage Pregnancy Awareness Booth. It's a preventative measure, an event that we do at Badabanu to discourage early sexual activity and pass on information that not only educate them but encourage them to practice abstinence. We have our church service, which is on the 3rd, and it's at the Church of God Victory Tabernacle. And at the church service, our Child Month awardee this year for the Caroline Patricia Williams Campbell Award goes to none other than Dr. Linda McFeel. She's a recipient this year, so we invite everybody, because remember, spiritual development is a very important part of your everyday lives, and we ensured that the church service begins and ends in the month of May. So we want everybody to come out to church. Once again, Miss Debbie said about our educational sessions, each aspect of our program is not just an event, it's an investment. It is an investment and a partnership into parenting. Our family dinners, as you notice on the calendar, we don't have the locations because it's by invitation, but it is another thing that we are trying to encourage with the families of the Cayman Islands to spend quality time with your children and to create positive memories. At 7 and 7:30 throughout the Cayman Islands in different restaurants all over Cayman, Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, There will be families there with their children interacting with an inspirational, motivational speaker that will do an investment into their lives that they will take to implement and will enhance their everyday parenting skills as a partnership. We are encouraging the rest of the Cayman Islands to prepare a family dinner, sit by the dinner table with your children. That is a beautiful experience. And like what Minister Borden says, they take those experiences with them. They speak about them. They enjoy them. It brings emotions that are positive, that are strong, that are it's a foundation in which that all of the ingredients must be there in order for everything to go as planned.
And for those families, those who don't have the privilege and the opportunity to really sit around a table and have a dinner together, because there are some families that are out there like that. What can we do for those?
Well, what we do is encourage the residents of the Cayman Island. If you are living next to someone that you know will not have a meal, every day of the year, do some extra food. Give to those families, invite them over to dinner, and that interacting with you and your family can make a difference.
Okay.
A huge difference in their lives.
Folks, I want to remind you that you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Dorrit Connor, and my guest in the studio with me this morning, we have Minister Borden, we have Ms. Jen Dixon, we have Ms. Debbie Webb-Sibley, and we have Ms. Delmira Borden. We were discussing a Child Month in the Cayman Islands that starts today. I want to remind you that our phone lines are open. When I said that we weren't going to take any calls, that was in relation to my talk about the meetings of the Electoral Boundary Commission, not about Child Month. We certainly want to hear from you as well. We know that you have children, or some of you have had children or still have young children as well. We want to hear from you. We want you to get involved in the discussion, so you can call us on our toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255 or 949-8037. or 949-6990. Alternatively, you can email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record, at candw.ky. Please stay tuned. We're going to take a short break, and we will be back. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record, where we're discussing Child Month in the Cayman Islands. The month of May is designated as Child Month here in the Cayman Islands. Lots of activities going on. We want to list all of those for you and hope that we captivate your interest in being involved in those activities. So again, I'm going to hand over to my panel of experts here this morning, and I'm going to just stay in the background and listen to them.
On the 9th of May, we have hashtag Health the Top Up, which is going to be at the Agriculture Pavilion. It's a Saturday from 9 until 12, and hashtag Health the Top Up. Basically, we'll have a different booth set up for activities, for churches that provide activities and programs for children on a daily basis, providing information for parents. And also we're going to have youth groups that's going to be on display. They will have pamphlets to pass on to parents. There will be cooking demonstrations on healthy snacks, local foods, also preparation of local foods. You know, when we indulge in our local foods, it's basically portion control. And we're going to also be promoting that at the Health Top Up event. The Circle of Love Prayer Breakfast, I'm going to allow Ms. Debbie to speak about that for me, which is on the 16th of May.
Okay, before we go there, we have one caller online since we invited their call, so we're going to take that caller now. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. Good morning. How are you?
I'm blessed. Let's call to say, this is the Child's Month, right? And people will be calling on all different issues about money and all different things, but this is health. This is for the future of the Cayman Islands. And I bet you wouldn't see some people that calling about certain things. You wouldn't call on this program, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, but they're listening. If they don't call in, they're listening, and the important thing is that we get our message across to them.
I don't know how many calls, right? That's what they call.
And I want to thank you for calling, as well. Do you still have young children, or are they all grown up?
Yes, I do, and I have one that is very talented. She's doing art, and she's
Okay.
picked out of her school. She's the one of the four out of the schools they picked for art, and she also do track and field.
Okay. Is she going to be involved in the festival? We have Festival of Arts this month too,
Yeah.
right? Yes.
Maybe she'll involved in that too.
Okay.
Also. And she want to be a architect.
Oh, great.
She's very
Wonderful.
talented. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's commendable that you've called in as a dad. We must really, really commend you and continue to encourage you to be a part of your child's life. And we are very proud of her, knowing that she has been selected to be a part of her group, and it's promoting her talents and her gifts.
Thank you for your call.
Thank you, and make sure you give your child a hug every night,
Yep.
before you go to bed.
Have a
And
good
keep
weekend.
supporting her.
Have a good weekend, bro.
Okay, Ms. Delmur, you said you were going to pass over to Ms. Debbie on
Yeah,
something?
for the Circle of Love prayer breakfast.
Yeah, the Circle of Love prayer breakfast. It will be held on the 16th of May at the Marriott, and this is an opportunity for children to come have breakfast with us, and where they will be the focus for the program. In regards to, they will be the presenters. The Circle of Love Women's Ministry consists of a group of local women who have come together to promote spirituality, empowering and helping others, mainly women, but we also reach out to others as well to inspire and motivate them. So the breakfast will be for children under the age of 12, where they'll be able to eat free. And if other persons would like to come, adults or persons over 12, the charge will be $20.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. I know on Radio Cayman they have a program, the Youth Flex program. I think it resumed sometime in July of this year. But I listen regularly to Youth Flex on Wednesday evenings, and I was pleasantly surprised to hear some of the young people on there who were rappers, but they were rappers to gospel, to Christian music, as opposed, to some of the other stuff that we hear, being rapped, and that was good. Now they're over the age of 12, but do we have activities? Do we have activities for them? I know Jamo and his group are probably going to be involved.
James, yes, is a part of our committee.
So
Yeah. Mr. James Miles is a part of our committee, and there are a number of activities on our calendars for children over the age of 12, which I just named a few of them, which is the Healthy Top Up, hashtag Healthy Top Up, which is going to be at the Agriculture Pavilion. The church service is for all ages. The family dinners is going to be from the age of 6 and up to the age of 18. The family fest, you notice we have activities on Saturday and we have them on Sunday, respecting each person's day of worship.
okay.
And the family fest at the Agriculture Pavilion is being put on by the Seventh-day Adventist Church and the Royal Cayman Islands Police Force. And this event starts at 10 and it finishes at 5. All of the food is like a fair day. The fire truck is going to be there. You have the helicopter, the chopper is going to be there from the Royal Cayman Islands Force. They're going to have a police motorcycle. They're going to have a police car. They're going to have bungs and castle. They're going to have a number of children's activities. And we are inviting families once again to come out with their children and to be a part of the Family Fest Day. Food is free. All of these activities are free. Other than the one that Ms. Deborah said, it's free. The Circle of Love breakfast is going to be free to 75 children that will receive, families that will receive free tickets. And then they have to do some fundraising, so it's like $20 for an adult.
I just want to interject here. Just as a heads up for parents who will be attending the Family Fest, there's going to be a game show entitled How Well Do You Know Your Child? So parents, if you're planning to attend this activity and there are things that you think you don't know about your child, you need to start asking them now.
Yeah. And there's prizes
You should
that you
organize a family feud for families.
Yes,
Children facts.
And there's going to be prizes at these events. You have to interact, you have to participate in order to win some of the prizes. On the 18th is the National Museum's Children Lokia, and the museum will be open, free admission on this day for parents to come out. It's a very cultural experience, along with having games for the children. It's also the Family Fun Day for Cayman Brac, which will be held on the south side, public beach, from 8 until 1. And we want to say hello to Miss Anna Rose Scott up there in Cayman Brac, who will be doing most of those activities. She's very dedicated, very hardworking.
Yep, long-serving too.
Long-serving.
Long-suffering.
Yeah.
Snuggle and Read is a beautiful evening at the Cayman Academy School Hall. You can come in your pajamas, bring your blankets. It is Snuggle and Read with your children. And they are going to have where families can enjoy bedtime stories. There are going to be some drama aspects to it. And they're going to have hot chocolate, cookies, sandwiches, and other snacks. It's going to be a beautiful evening. So bring your children out and participate.
Ms. Delmira, what about those children who are in government-run institutions like the Francis Borden Girls Home and Boys Home and any other institution? How are they going to be involved in this?
We extend invitations to all of them.
All of them.
And at those facilities, they coordinate and provide transportation and support for those children to participate.
Excellent.
And foster parents who have children placed with them also come out.
Great. Now, Minister Borden, I know that you have to leave us at 9 o'clock to go to another function, so we're going to probably take a break. Paulie, we want to take a break at 1:45, well, let's take the break now. We're going to take the break now. When we come back, we're going to give Minister Borden a chance to say some more to us as well, and so that he can leave at 9 o'clock. Folks, I want to remind you that you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Dorrit Connor. My guest in the studio with me this morning, we have Minister Osborne Borden. We have Ms. Alicia Jen Dixon, who's the Director of Social Services, Children and Family Services, and we have Ms. Debbie Webb-Sibley, who is the Deputy Director, and Ms. Delmira Borden, who is the Community Officer and who is also the coordinator for this month's Child Month as well. Please stay tuned. We're going to be back shortly. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record, where we're discussing Child Month here in the Cayman Islands. We have Minister Osborne Borden. We have the Director of Children and Family Services, Ms. Jen Dixon. We have Ms. Debbie Webb-Sibley, who is the Deputy Director, and Ms. Delmira Borden, who is the Chairperson for the Child Month Committee, and she's also Community Officer. We're going to go straight to Minister Borden now because he has other commitments, and we want to give him an opportunity to have his final comments.
Thank you, Jose. And what I'd like to stress is that, when you look at the month of activities, which will be posted all around the island, you will see that as Delmira was saying and Debbie, the month is free, and we need to take advantage of this, folks. And what I like about it, it's free, but a parent or guardian must be there. That is what we're trying to achieve, and I think that was a very wise move for the organizers to plan it that way. Give them kudos for that. The church service, I will be in attendance on Sunday, and looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to my reading as well. There's nothing like reading to kids, a bunch of kids. I did that back in March as well for another event, and let me tell you, you captivate them. It's people say, oh, kids are bad and they're this and that. Those teachers settle them down there and they sit and they're just in amazement with what you're doing. The fact that I guess you're someone different than normally that reads to them, someone that they're in awe of or whatever, for whatever reason. By the time it was over, I had one on each knee, and it was, I had them helping me read, and it's just a fun thing. So it's something that, I don't think the schools would even be averse to people just popping in, members of the public popping in on occasion and asking to read to the class. It's something we should encourage as a community. I think it's healthy, and I'm sure that I'm not speaking out of turn that schools would not find that strange at all. It would be something that we as a country could take on, and say, our schools are open for whenever you have a free moment, pop in and have a read, and just ask for the particular class that would be suitable. But I just want to stress the fact that, in my short time as minister in charge of community affairs, the wonderful work that's done by this agency of Department of Children and Family Services, and the hard workers that are within it. And, there's no better. The wheels of government often turn slowly, and I, for one, get frustrated because I come from a private sector mentality, and the red tape sometimes gets to me. But I can tell you that when it comes to our kids' welfare, nothing slows it down. When there's an issue, and I say Miss Jen or Paulinda or whoever it is that, Tamara at NAU, whoever it is that has to get involved and make things happen when it comes to the protection and welfare of our children, it happens like that. We've had many times already in the short span of 4 months where I've seen a Friday evening. For some reason, we get this Friday evening crisis, but Friday evening will come midday and we'll hear, well, we got one, and here's a situation where there are kids that are trapped in whether it's a custodial dispute or some unhappiness at home or whatever, and we have to find shelter and protection, and we have these wonderful foster parents that step up to the plate. We need more of them. But the system, all the criticism that goes on in Cayman, we don't know how much good goes on. Trust me, there's a lot more good than bad in these islands, and there's fantastic work that goes on behind the scenes that people don't know, that is a basket around this little island that is protecting many. And in particular, as I said, our kids. And kudos to you guys who work day in and day out, because up to yesterday I was over at NAU for a little social event for some folks that were leaving and for some new staff that we've thankfully got in there, because they've been under a lot of stress. And to just tell them, just to be there with them, just to tell them thanks, because no one knows that department unless you need help. And you go in there and you're frustrated, you're tired, you're irritable, you hug those people up. Sometimes they're in the same boat, they're irritable, they're tired, and they may hug you back. But this is what happens when stress hits all of us. And the needs assessment unit, since it's been split off, have been doing tremendous work. And I think the formula is working is once we can get the resources there that's needed to get help to our people. And what was magnificent? There was a gentleman there yesterday that's a new employee, and before that he was a client. That gave me cold chills. Now he's a worker. He's working with the unit, and that is fantastic to see. I'm straying a bit from the children, but just to say, just the great work that goes on, in this community, and we need to appreciate that. And I'm also glad to see that we didn't leave out the Brack and Little Cayman. They're certainly, I'm sure Minister Moores, I see he's one of the sponsors, Minister Colonel. I'm sure he made sure that, everything is good and they're going to get their share of activities over there. I think when you hit on a while ago, or see the thing about the games, it certainly, we may not have a presence, and it hasn't been planned around the games next week, the soccer tournament between the 5th and the 10th. But what we can say on this show and other forum is that where you get a chance, parents, take your kids to those games. It's a perfect opportunity. This is some wonderful international football with our local teams, and this is a good time to start. If you haven't done it before, take your kids to the games, especially the dads. The dads oftentimes are missing, and we need our dads to play a bigger role in our children's lives. Certainly. Mom will always be mom, and when you're sick and you buck your toe, you run into mom, but kids crave their dads, especially if boys. They want their dads to be around. They want to do things with their dads. So I'm imploring that, no matter how busy, and sadly life has taken us that way in Cayman with the prosperity that we talk about and the progress. It has put some of us working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and it's taken away that family time. And I think it all, we lost one for the other. We had the progress this way, and we got the moral decline the next way, the family breakdown, and we can't separate that's a fact. But we have to find a way, and it's agencies like ours that do fantastic work. And this month of May, I'm just asking the public to embrace it. I'm asking parents to pay particular attention to what's going on and get out there, and even if it's just one event that you can do, make sure that the month of May you make a special effort to get out there and do that one event with your children. It's going to make a difference to them, and it's going to make a difference to these Cayman Islands. So I want to thank you all for having me, and I'm going to head off and do some other work and open Cox Lumber in Bodden Town. So work goes on.
Yep. Well, Minister, I want to thank you very much, for being here with us, talking about it. And we know, that you're extremely passionate about this subject as well, and our children, and anything that you get involved in, that you're extremely passionate about it. We want to thank you, for being here with us. We still have about 5 minutes before we're going to go to a break. So, Ms. Jan?
Before our minister leaves, I'd like to thank him very much, because he has been very supportive, and we could not accomplish and do some of the things we're doing without his and the ministry support. So, Minister Bodden, we really appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you,
too.
And a
Minister.
good weekend.
Okay, you too.
Who wants to continue, Ms. Delmira?
Well,
I just
just
want
right-
to talk. Sorry,
Okay.
I just want to talk about the. Delmira talked about the snuggle and read. I want to talk about something that's been introduced this year.
Can I interrupt you a second, Ms. Deb? We have one caller on hold, so that I didn't realize it. Let's
Yeah.
take that caller now. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm calling this morning to congratulate the Children and Family Services, for the job that they're doing and trying to involve parents in their children's lives, and for all the activities that they're having. And I know they were talking about foster parents,
Yes.
and I want to say how, I want to remember somebody this morning, and that's Miss Mary Ebanks from
Yes.
down on Hale Road.
Yeah.
I mean, I seen this firsthand, the way that she cared for the children in her care, and even, adopted some of them as her own children. And, it's, sorry.
Yeah.
I want to encourage anybody who, feels like they can do that in order to prevent some children from facing or going through life with bad experiences.
And going astray as well, yeah.
And going astray. I just want to encourage, anybody who can open their homes and their hearts to children here in Cayman. And, I'm passionate about, children and the focus that we need to emphasize. And, Child Month is a month-long thing, and I've seen the advertisements and the flyers for the different activities. And,
Good.
I just want to say that, I'll try to get out to as many as we can. And I know on the 31st of May, which is the last day of the month, the Sunday, the last Sunday in May, we at the Boson Bay Presbyterian Church will have Children's Sunday, with refreshments and stuff afterwards. So I just want to say that we have to love our children, because indeed they are our future.
Yep.
And our future depends on us helping them and molding them to become responsible
Yep.
people.
And we have to
God
do
bless
more
you all.
than just give lip service to it.
Yeah.
We have to, we have to put our words into action.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very
God
much.
bless-
Thank you
God
very
bless
much.
you all.
God
Thank
bless
you.
you too. Have a great day, and big shout out to Miss Mary Ebanks.
Yeah.
Want to certainly commend her for what she has done.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about something new that we're doing for this year, Child's Month. Kirk Office Equipment approached us about being involved in Child Month. So on Saturday the 23rd, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., Kirk Office Equipment will be having a colorathon, where will be a craft and art activity festivals for families. It will be led by artist Cara Julian, and all age groups are encouraged to go out on Saturday the 23rd at Kirk Office Equipment at 9 a.m.
Okay, and that's on Compass Way, I think it is?
Yes.
It is? Yes, yes. Okay. All right, folks, I want to remind you that you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Orrit Connor. My guest in the studio with me this morning, we had Minister Osborne Borden, who has left us now to go to another function. We also have the Director of Children and Family Services, Ms. Alicia Jen Dixon. We have Ms. Debbie Webb Sibley's, who is the Deputy Director, and we have Ms. Delmira Borden, who is the community officer, but not only the community officer, but also the coordinator for the Child Month Committee. We're going to go to headline news, very short break, and we're going to be back, and we're going to continue to invite you to call in, share your experiences with us, let us have your views, and I will give you those numbers again when we resume the show. Please stay tuned. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record, where we're discussing Child Month in the Cayman Islands. We're having those discussions with Ms. Jen Dixon, who's the Director of Children and Family Services. Also with us, we have Ms. Deborah Webb Sibley's, who's the Deputy Director, and Ms. Delmira Borden, who is the Community Officer, but also the Coordinator for Child Month in the Cayman Islands. I'm going to hand over to them because the month of May has 31 days in it, and we want to tell you what's happening on each occasion, and we only have about 25 more minutes to do it, so I'll try not to interrupt. We're still taking calls. If you want to call in and make some comments, we certainly invite you to call in on our toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. And of course, you've heard about sponsors for Child Month as well. And I just want to remind you of our sponsor here on For the Record this morning. And For the Record is brought to you by LED Lighting, Engineering and Design, located on Dorsey Drive in Industrial Park, where they have many energy-saving devices that can help you to reduce your energy bills. So I'm going to hand right over to the ladies now.
And continue with the events on the 23rd of May. The Family Fun Day was going to be in Little Cayman, Blossom Village Park, and it starts at 10 a.m. On the 25th of May, the Yoga Family Evening is being done by none other than a staff member from our department, Ms. Juliet Garrix. We'll lead families into fun fitness activities and relaxation. So if you need to be de-stressed, come out with your child, bring a mat or bring a towel with you. That's at the Georgetown Town Hall. On the 26th, we're having board games evening at the Book Nook, and we have to thank the Book Nook because they sponsors this event every year. When you come up with your child, you can interact with them in playing different games, along with getting a certificate once you go through all of the games, or most of the games, to go into the Book Nook and to purchase another book to take home to read, and it adds to your collection at home.
And that'll be happening simultaneously in Cayman Bracken as well?
Yes, in Cayman Brack. It's going to be at the Youth Development Center, and it's 6 to 8. And on the 28th, this dinner has been sponsored by Mr. Gary Ruddy. I have to commend him because he's always participating and helping out with events, especially to do with children.
And if you don't know him by that name, Gary Ruddy, Peanuts.
Peanut.
as well, okay.
He also helps out with the Christmas events in our community. So Gary Ruddy, thank you very much. He is a parent himself, and he believes that every child should have a safe home, and he stressed that to me. And to be in a healthy environment. And the Grand Old House, he sponsored that dinner, and it's going to be from 5:30 until 7. You have to RSVP. This dinner is for persons who are considering becoming foster parents, who want to be foster parents. So the number is 949-0290 if you want to reserve, if you are interested in becoming a foster parent. The 29th is a day that's special in all of our hearts, and it's an all-island dress down for Feed Our Future. Feed Our Future is a partnering agency with the with our department, and they provide free school lunches for children. All of the forms are available at every principal's office at each school. So if you need assistance, don't let your children stay home because they don't have something to eat. Don't let them go without, because that's why the needs assessment unit is there to provide you with assistance if you qualify. The All Island Dress Down Feed Our Future, support them, buy a t-shirt, and it's, you can call 949-0290 if you're interested in supporting Feed Our Future. They are also doing their advertising on this event, and all the proceeds from Feed Our Future goes towards the school lunch program. Also, we have the Cupcake Wars, and I'm going to let Miss Deb and Miss Jenna join with me in the Cupcake Wars. The Cupcake Wars actually happened in Cayman on Saturday, and I went to Cayman, and I must commend the students in Cayman because they were well organized, they were prepared, and the skills that I seen demonstrated as far as teamwork, preparation, the display of the cupcakes that they've done, and the competition, the morale amongst them was very high. And the winning cupcake team, I tried their chocolate cupcake, and I can tell you it was very, very good. So thank you to Kim and Brock and the team over there that came together to ensure that the Kim and Brock now winning team will come to Grand Cayman at the Ritz-Carlton and participate. But the Cupcake Wars, Miss Debbie, you know, is an honor of our late Wendy Quinlan, who is the past CDO, was the past CDO for the District of Northside, and a member of the Child Month Committee. And her spirit of life and for living, and her zest for being free and expressing herself,
and her love for food.
Yeah,
We can't forget that one.
her love for food. So this event is the Cupcake Wars is in honor of Miss Wendy Quinlan, and there is going to be this year competition. Will be a Wendy Q cupcake where the recipe will be sent to the Food Network, and the children that are participating in the Cupcake War is going to watch a short video of Wendy, and then they're going to try to put that all into a cupcake, because she also liked shoes. She loved her heels. She loved the color orange. She had a very bubbly personality. She was always very outgoing. And we want to encourage parents, even though your children are not probably already registered in this competition, because all spaces are gone. From the time we launched out, there were people calling to register.
Wow.
But you can come out and watch at the Ritz-Carlton, and we have to thank the Ritz-Carlton for sponsoring our event, along with Moses Cocornell, who ensured that Kim and Brock participated. And the Kiwanis Club is our biggest sponsor for the Cupcake War. We have other sponsors like Papa John's, Book Nook, Kirk Office, Ritz-Carlton again, Circle of Love Women's Ministry. Churches and other individuals that are assisting, because throughout the Cayman Islands, churches are choosing to do their church services at a different time. And we have to thank the radio stations, as you know, for the record, yourself, Radio Cayman. And we have Vibe FM, along with Rooster and Z99, who have all come together to champion the cause and to promote and to create awareness throughout the Cayman Islands, not only opening our hearts to loving, but to open our hearts and our hands to act and to be a part of a child's life and to be as positive as we can be. And I would implore upon the gatekeepers of our country, whether you're in church, in government, as a teacher, as a professional, as a resident, as a neighbor, we all participate in a child's life every day. Let's do it being responsible, and let's do it with lots of love and care, knowing that that child will be our leaders of tomorrow.
Okay, before you continue, I just want to give Paul a heads up if we can search for Whitney Houston's song, about children being our future, because at the end of the show, I want you to play that for us this morning. Yeah, the greatest love of all. I want you to play that. So, Paul, instead of our regular theme song that we have afterwards this morning, Whitney Houston for us, please. Go right ahead, Ms. Jenna.
I just wanted to add that one of the reasons why Wendy is being remembered at the Cupcake War because she always used to be a judge.
Okay.
She worked very closely with James Miles and the Youth Unit Culinary Team to make this event a success. And to go and see those children or young people participate where they have to create a recipe from scratch. It just warms your heart to see the different levels and different types of skills that our young people are developing as they grow. And this is one of them. So that these are young persons who are teenage pastry chefs, and we have to acknowledge them.
Yes. Excellent. Excellent. Ms. Jen?
Yeah, I was just going to say one of the important things for us too is that you hear so many negative things about our children and youth, but they're the minority really. Not saying it's not important to address those issues as well, which we are, but we need to focus on all our children, and through working with their parents, through churches, through community groups, big brother, big sister, to provide them with the positive things that can help to strengthen them, build them up into those stable, well-adjusted adults we want for our world tomorrow. Picking back up on the program on the 28th for persons considering becoming foster parents, that's really critical. We have some very dedicated foster parents who are providing loving care for the children in our community who need that care. But we still need more. Specifically, we need persons who are up for the challenge of fostering teenagers, for fostering children who may have special needs. Everybody wants the babies, but we also have those teens sometimes who really just need a one-on-one parenting situation to help them through the rough times they're going through. So it's really critical we acknowledge those who fostered in years gone by. When I first joined the department, well, it was probation and welfare then with Mrs. Joyce Hilton. The two persons who used to take children in informally fostering was Miss Gleda Forbes, who used to live right across from the current government admin building, and Miss Nina Earl from Spot Bay, Cayman Brack. And those two ladies in the early days were the two safe havens for many children in this country.
And we should point out that Miss Mary Ebanks that was mentioned earlier, she's actually the late Mary
Late
Ebanks.
Mary Ebanks, she passed away.
And she's Mr. Bragg's mother.
Yeah, and
she was Mr. Bragg's mother.
for many years she was a safe haven for many children. We also had the person whom the award is named after, Patricia Campbell, who was a foster parent who we lost a few years ago as well. And we have many current foster parents who are doing an excellent job in providing that care for
We're
those in need.
going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have about less than 15 minutes left. But what I want you to do, Ms. Jen, when we come back, is just to mention some of the things that prospective foster parents need to know in terms of how do they get involved, what will be some of the responsibilities, how they to sign up for it and everything else. So folks, I want to remind you that you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host Stuart Connor, and my guest in the studio with me this morning discussing Child Month in the Cayman Islands, we have the Director of Children and Family Services, Ms. Jen Dixon. We have the Deputy Director, Ms. Debbie Webb Sibley's, and we have Ms. Delmira Borden, who is the Community Officer and the Coordinator for Child Month. Please stay tuned. We will be back shortly. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record, where I'm your host, Stuart Connor, and we're discussing Child Month in the Cayman Islands with the Director of Children and Family Services, Ms. Jen Dixon. We also have the Deputy Director, Ms. Deborah Webb Sibley's, and Ms. Delmira Borden, who is the coordinator for Child Month in the Cayman Islands. We have one call online, so we're going to take that caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, Miss
Miss
Daphne. How are you?
Good morning.
I'm doing.
Morning.
I am very grateful, very grateful. But anyway, just to say how exciting it is that this full month is going to be, just focused on children. And I was listening to your show, and I'm thinking, not just exciting, but how important is the role that these ladies are playing, and all the others who are involved in children and family services. And we all have some vocation in life that we're involved with, something which God has planned for us. But I think when we get to heaven, it's going to be a real celebration when all these children come out and say, I'm here because of you, because of something that you did, and because my life was better because you chose to take time. And I think that there is no more worthy cause than to focus on our children. I wish you really well during this month. I'm sure that Radio Cayman is going to do everything to promote the various events. And God bless you all. We must place the importance and emphasis on children that we should. We know our Lord Jesus Christ did. In fact, he said, if you want to get to heaven, you've got to have a spirit like that of a child. So I pray God's blessing on you all, on every child in the Cayman Islands, in fact, around the world. But in our little neck of the woods here in Cayman, I trust that all of us, all of Caymanians, will never look upon a child with anything other than in feeling in their heart, what would Jesus do toward this child? What are his thoughts? What are his interests in this child? God bless you all. Thank you for taking my call, and I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful month.
Thank you, Miss
Thank you
Daphne.
very much.
Thank you, Miss Daphne. Ladies, I'm going to hand over to you. Take over the show.
Okay, we were talking about fostering, but just before we went off, and the another foster parent who was also an employee who we lost was Wendy Quinlan. That was mentioned earlier, and I also want to acknowledge her because she, in addition to being a community development officer, was a foster parent for a child with special needs, and really championed that child. Unfortunately, we lost Wendy in November last year. So we have current foster parents who continue to deal with those challenges as well.
And what's
To
the
become a
purpose? Yeah.
foster parent, because we are placing children in these homes, as a department we have to be able to know that we're placing them in a safe environment. So to become a foster parent, you would contact 949-0290 to speak with Nicole Carter, who is our foster care adoptions coordinator. You complete an application form which asks you a series of questions. Then your case is assigned to a social worker in order for a home study to be done. We have fire inspections done, we have police checks done, and we have environmental health checks done on the home just to make sure the environment is suited and safe for a child. During the application process, you have an opportunity to state what age group you would prefer to foster, whether you're interested in babies, you'll take any age, whether you only want to do emergency placements or to have full-time placements. Once the home study is completed, all the paperwork comes to a team at the department and we review it and then either approve the person or not. Because when we're going to court, we have to be able to assure the court that we're removing the child from this unsafe environment, and where we propose putting the child is the safest one possible. The order that the child is put on, they're put on a care order to the department, which gives us the authority of a parent, and then we determine which placement would be best for that child.
And currently, do you have a waiting list in terms of children to be placed in
Not
foster?
not really a waiting list. We go periods where you may not have a child, and then you may get a Friday evening. Like last weekend, we had 4, all in one family that we had to place. So it fluctuates. Ideal situation is to have more than you would need, so that we can get to a situation rather than having multiple children in a home, we can have one. Under the children law, we are only allowed to have 3 children per foster parent. The exception being if it's a sibling group. So if we had one foster parent who was interested in having those 4 children together, we could have placed them with them because it's a sibling group, they're brothers and sisters. And one of the things we have to be sensitive to when a child is being removed from their home, no matter how bad that home, that's further stress and trauma on that child. So as far as is humanly possible, the first thing we try to do is find placement within the extended family, aunts, grandmothers, etc. If we can be assured they'll be safe in their own extended family, then we'll do that for some stability for that child. If not, and we have to place outside, then we try as far as possible to keep family groups together. But sometimes that's not always possible because some foster parents may not be able to cope with a large group. If it's 2 children, it's not as bad. When you start getting 3, 4, 5, it can become problematic. So the ideal situation for us is to have a pool of foster parents, have them assessed, have them approved, have them trained. And we may never need to call on them, but if we do, we have that resource available.
So those who are considering and those who are reluctant need to understand that it isn't necessarily an immediate commitment, but if they have the desire to do so, get out there, get your name, get trained up, get your name on a list so that you're approved in the event that we're needed.
Because we don't want to have a situation where a child comes up needing somewhere and we have nowhere to place the child.
Right. Okay, we have about 5
and
minutes.
That has happened.
5 minutes left, so we're going to go around the table. We'll start with you, Miss Debbie. And
just to pinpoint the family dinners that we did mention earlier, that will be taking place on the 6th, the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th. What we have been doing over the last couple of years is that there is one night that is assigned to parent and children, and another night that is assigned to grandparents and grandchildren. And I recall last year that there were situations where it was the first time a grandchild was in a position to invite a grandparent out to dinner. And the grandparents, their faces were just beaming because they felt so honored to know that their grandchild was in a position to invite them out to dinner.
Great. We'll leave Miss Jen for the last, Delmira.
I want to implore on all of the families throughout the Cayman Islands and organizations to get involved, participate for the month of May, and if you can make, commitments for to become a foster parent or to feed a child or to sponsor or to give your time for any activities that we're doing throughout the year, please do so. You can call us at 9490-290, and I would like to thank our Child Month Committee. Without them, we would not have been able to pull off a whole month of activities. Miss Debbie Webb Siblis, yes. Our director, Miss Jen Dixon, Miss Debbie Webb Siblis is a part of our team. Cassandra Parchment, Dorlin Welcome, Mr. Sidney Shaw. The RCIP is represented by Officer Pompey, Cornelius Pompey, and he has been an asset to Child Month. He's been with us for many years. And he's a very dedicated officer, and he gives 100%, or should we say more than 100%, when he comes out and participate with us. We have Tiffany Miles, Miss Nicole Carter, Miss Judith Gordon, who is also a strong member of our team from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We have to thank the Seventh-day Adventist Church because they go beyond, I would say, the call of duty to say, what can we do? How can we participate? And providing, their resources in order for Child Month to be a beautiful one.
And a big question quickly, Ms. Delmira. For those persons who are listening to the show this morning, individuals who may be working for organizations, if someone wanted to chip in at this point in time, they looked at the calendar and they see that a particular event is taking place on a particular day and they wanted to do something to enhance that, can they still do that as well?
Yes, they can. They can call 9490-290 and they can ask for me or Cassandra Parchment, or they can ask for Debbie Webb Siblis. Child Month is highlighted for the month of May, but our work continues throughout the whole year. And I'll let Ms. Debbie comment on one or two other things that are continuing beyond that is on the top of our agenda and very important that we're trying to launch out with. that I believe is very appropriate for us to talk about it at this forum.
Okay.
Mr. James Miles and his team, Youth Services, is a partner with us, and they're also on board our Child Month Committee. So we want to thank the whole team, and we want to thank the Church of God Victory Tabernacle, who is hosting this year's church service, and the church service that's going to be held at Cotton Tree Bay in Cayman. We want to thank all of you for participating, all of our sponsors, Kirk Office Equipment, all of the events that we're having. We're partnershiping with other businesses and individuals throughout the Cayman Islands, and these are the stakeholders that we have to interact with every day and come together to ensure that the children of these islands, which is our future, is provided with the support and the resources that are needed. This year we are creating awareness, and the awareness is saying opening our hearts. We become busy and the heart becomes relaxed. We want it to be beating loud and blood pumping in a sense, and strong, to say, I am passionate about this. I see a child next door that needs my help. I see a child in church that need my help. Don't ignore them. Be a part of their lives. They are the future of these islands.
Okay, Ms. Jen?
To encourage everybody to come out and support the various events. But in addition to that, to take on board the true meaning of the month, and within your own homes, as parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, make time for the children in your family. Spend time with them. It's not about, as we said earlier, what you can give them materially. Yes, they need food, they need shelter, but most importantly, they need your time, they need your love, they need your attention. Without that, we will lose out. So again, just to acknowledge and thank the hard work done by, I noticed Delmira talked about everybody, she didn't mention herself. She's a whirling dervish, and she came on board, took things and ran with it along with her committee. And I think they have created a really interesting and jam-packed month of activities. One event I don't think we mentioned was on the 21st. That week, I think, is the week of the young child, and there's a field trip organized for the children to visit a big school, Delmira.
Yeah, they're going to be visiting schools throughout the Cayman Islands, depending on the catchment area that the preschool is in.
Okay, good. So come out, support the events, but more importantly, be present in the lives of the children around you. And outside of Child Month, persons in the community who are interested in getting involved, I would recommend Big Brother, Big Sister. We need positive role models for our children. We need men, we need women to be present. So contact Big Brother, Big Sister and sign up with them.
Okay, great. Folks, I want to remind you that you've been listening to For the Record. I've been your host, Dorrit Connor, and my guest in the studio with me this morning discussing Child Month in the Cayman Islands, the month of May. We had Minister Osborne Borden, who has left us to go to another commitment. We had Ms. Alicia Jen Dixon, who is the Director of Children and Family Services. We have Ms. Deborah Webb Sibley's, who is the Deputy Director. We also have Ms. Delmira Borden, who is the Community Officer, but also the Coordinator for Child Month as well. And of course, you heard Ms. Jen say she didn't give credit to herself, but she's a hard worker, and I know that for certain. You know, we see her on the roads all the time. We talk with her, and I want to commend all of you, for the job that you're doing. We know sometimes that it's becomes a thankless job. Some of your staff endure verbal abuse from people as well, but despite all of that, you continue to trod along and do a job well done.
Thank you.
Folks, I want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who is less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them, and in particular for the month of May, Child Month. Think even more so about the more vulnerable in our society, those that we all claim and believe we know that they are our future, But what that future will be determined by how we treat our younger ones today, how we bring them up. I also ask you to think not about those who want, but those who need. Continue to listen to Radio Cayman, but in particular, remember to support Child Month here in the Cayman Islands. And of course, coupled with all of that is Mother's Day as well. I think that's on the 10th of this month, Mother's Day. So don't forget Mother's Day as well, because there are many mothers who are also fathers, serve as fathers as well. In some instances, there are fathers who serve as mothers, as well. But again, we are all our brothers and our sisters' keepers, and we have a responsibility, a social responsibility to take care of those who are less fortunate, those who are more vulnerable in our society, as well. So I want to say to you, have a great day, and we're going to leave you with that special song that I asked Paul to play for us. Have a great weekend. Stay safe on our roads. And before I go, don't forget the Solidarity and Memorial Walk for the late Mrs. Marcia Donaldson that will take place on Saturday. That is tomorrow. They're asking everyone to be there at 4:45 a.m. at the entrance to South Sound Road, near the Hurley's roundabout. The walk will commence at 5 a.m. They're asking you also to wear a white t-shirt and bring a flower of your choice. And if you want any more information on it, please contact Mrs. Millicent Webster at 916-4916, and Radio Cayman will continue to broadcast that on our community calendar as well. Folks, God bless. Have a great weekend.